we got the, like one of the best dates of the year in the best month of the year this year. Why, hello there YouTube and welcome back to 31. So, we're on day 13 and it is the 5th day of first and last week. And, of course, can you guess the date? Yes, today I'm reviewing Friday the 13th. So yeah, as you can see, I have my Jason Lives shirt on, Team Jason, yeah. So, Friday the 13th. So, I'm reviewing the first installment of the franchise, of course. And of course, what better day than to do that, We got the, like one of the best dates of the year in the best month of the year this year. So, Friday the 13th. Do excuse me one moment. Little tickle there. So, Friday the 13th. So in this, of course, we all know the story now. In 1957, 11-year-old Jason drowned. His mother goes on a murderous rampage and gets the Camp Crystal Lake closed in 1958. Then they attempt to reopen numerous times. And then in the events of the first Friday the 13th film, the Christies attempt to open the camp again. They get the councillors all ready and that, and they get picked off one by one. And of course, Alice discovers that the one behind the killings is not Jason. No, he made his killer debut in the sequel, part 2. It was his mother, Pamela Voorhees, who is preventing the camp from ever being opened so no child should suffer his fate. And of course, Alice survives after overpowering Mrs. Voorhees. And then, of course, we get a fake jump scare where she's dreaming of Jason dragging her into the lake before she wakes up and asks if the boy is dead, Jason. But no, he's still out there. And I believe this was just intended to be a one-off film. I don't think they, at the time, were expecting the franchise to become the staple in horror that it is now. So, yeah. Jason is in this one, but only in flashbacks and that dream sequence where he's played by, is it Ari Lehman? Is Jason in that? Is that right? So yeah, we don't see Jason much in this. Like I said, he takes over from the sequels where the franchise just gets better and then worse and then better. Of course, my favourite installment is the 6th movie. Hence the shirt that I'm wearing, which I've just shown you. So, what did I like about this? Well, I like that this was sort of intended as a revenge thriller, but of course, slashers at that time were still working out where they were wanting to go. Of course, we had previous movies like Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, Halloween. So at this point, the slasher genre was definitely coming into its own by 1980, and we see the tropes in there, like the slashers and that, like the sex gets you killed, and the final girl who is the virgin survives because she makes it out and doesn't have the distraction of lovemaking or the influence of drugs or alcohol to consumer or anything like that. So I like that this was the first installment and how it was probably fresh at that time, more or less fresh, but of course stuff like this now has gone out to be overplayed and just typical cliche. But at the time, Friday the 13th was new. Of course, this film series would go on to define the 1980s, as we got an installment out basically every year throughout the 80s. I mean, we didn't in 1983 or 1987. Wait, no, 1988 we didn't get a Friday the 13th movie. But other than that, throughout the rest of that decade, we did see Friday the 13th film out every, like I say. I think eventually turning it into a cash cow, but had its loyal fan base. And all the films are still loved to this very day. I liked, I mean, the acting in it I don't think was too bad. This had a young Kevin Bacon in it, who at the time was not as well known as he is now. He did, however, have a credit in Animal House in '78, National Lampoon's Animal House, and then he appeared in this movie, young Kevin Bacon, and he gets killed, of course, with the arrow through his neck. I like all the other characters as well, how they fit their roles and how they die and stuff. Including that shower scene where that girl gets axed in the face. Also, Betsy Palmer as Pamela Voorhees. Now, she appears in only the final act of the movie. Now, I believe she was a big veteran actress at that time. And, playing Pamela Voorhees, you could see she's psychologically traumatized by the events of her son Jason drowning. And how she channels Jason through her. But also I kind of get it, she's rooting for her son. She cares so much that she's willing to kill to stop this camp from being open to protect other children from meeting the same fate as Jason, because of course we all know that he drowned while the two camp councillors responsible were not watching him but were making love. And of course we see that in the opening act of the film. This also was, had the makeup effects by the legendary Tom Savini, who had worked on Dawn of the Dead. He was starting to make, his self known in the horror genre as an actor and makeup and special effects artist, and of course, not thinking that a sequel was going to happen or anything, he turned down the job for the makeup effects in part 2 to work on The Burning. But also, the bit where, Mrs. Voorhees gets decapitated and we see her hands, those are actually Tom Savini's hands, because he was like that body double for her. Also, Adriana King, she also played a good final girl in this and was the final survivor. And, of course, she did return for part 2 only to get killed very early on because... I mean, she could have been like the Laurie Strode of the series, but, given that she was getting a lot of, hate mail and a lot of more attention than she probably thought, she didn't want to continue in the franchise, which was a shame, really, but, she just didn't do it. So, yeah. Also, in the film, they did kill a real snake. Yeah, there was a bit where there was a snake in the cabin, and turns out that was a real snake. I don't know if they were aware of it or not, but yeah. Of course, Sean S. Cunningham, his direction is good in this, and so is the writing from Victor Miller. And I believe Victor Miller, the creator of Jason, that we all know, I mean, at the time of the recording of this video, we're getting a Friday the 13th Crystal Lake series. Of course, not licensed to have the hockey mask Jason, but still feature Jason. I don't know much other than it's like a prequel sort of thing. Anyway, back to this one, Friday the 13th. So, yeah, I don't think there was any supernatural elements in this movie at that time. That sort of came on later in the sequels and stuff. But, yeah, this was the first of, what would go on to be a franchise making, and over time, New Line would acquire the rights to Jason and make at least 2 more poor quality movies before the big crossover of Freddy vs. Jason. Now, like I said, given that we have odd number days in the week, I have come up with an idea for the final installment of this franchise. So, before I review the final installment of this series tomorrow, I'm reviewing another first installment, because I believe these 2 franchises, before they were remade, concluded together. Anyway, Friday the 13th, the original, 1980. Is there anything I didn't like? I guess the slow build maybe, but I think it's a solid film. Have that whole guessing game on the first viewing round. But yeah, Friday the 13th. What am I going to give this one? You know what? I think I'll give it 5 stabs out of 5. 5 stabs out of 5 for Friday the 13th. So, that's it for today's episode. So, be sure to tune in tomorrow. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and share with your friends. And feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All of my social media links are linked down below in the description. So, yeah. There are only 2 more days of this week left. Where is it going? So, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, and until next time, don't have nightmares.